Deacon. Taylor Hayes' voice had a careful warmth to it, as if she were walking on shaky ground. He opened the door and there she was, calm, caring, and obviously torn. Taylor had seen Deacon at his worst. She had also seen the man behind the mistakes, the father who wanted to do better, and the survivor who wouldn't let his past define him. "I wasn't sure you'd still want to talk," she said. Without a second thought, Deacon said, "I do. More than ever." They went inside, and the door closed softly behind them. The air between them was charged, but not with danger. It was charged with possibility. That was almost scarier for Taylor. She had spent her whole life helping other people get through emotional storms, but standing in Deacon's bedroom, she felt the same weakness she often asked her patients to show. Taylor said carefully, "I heard about Sheila. How you dealt with it." Deacon nodded. "I finally stopped letting her tell the story. My life. My decisions." Taylor looked at him closely, looking for flaws. She didn't find anything, just determination. "That takes strength," she said. "Real strength." He looked her in the eye. "I learned it from people who thought I could do better. From you." The words hit them hard. Taylor crossed her arms not to protect herself, but to keep her balance. This wasn't just about being attracted. It was about faith. Getting better. Two people with complicated pasts are brave enough to share the same emotional space. Taylor said, "I don't want to make a mistake. Not with you." "Me neither," Deacon said. "That's why I wanted you to come. Not to hide. Not to get away. But to be honest." He pointed to the bed, not as an invitation, but as a sign of closeness and honesty. A place where people took off their masks and looked at themselves. Taylor let out a slow breath. "Being honest means being aware of the risks. And choosing anyway," Deacon said. For a long time, neither of them said anything. These quiet times, full of history, regret, and hope, were great for soap operas. In the end, Taylor nodded. "Then let's pick carefully." They sat next to each other, their shoulders almost touching. There was a strong connection, but it was also restrained. Courage, not fear, would be the foundation of what came next. For Deacon Sharp, that made all the difference. The lights of the city outside were very bright. Sheila Carter wasn't the monster under the bed anymore. It was just the end of a chapter. The bed didn't feel like furniture. It felt like a line neither of them had crossed yet. Taylor's hands were resting in her lap, which was normal for her, but her eyes kept going back to Deacon. He was calm in a way she had never seen before, earned, not borrowed. "You're not the same," she finally said. Deacon laughed a little, as if he couldn't believe what he heard. "I've heard that before." "No," Taylor said, turning all the way to face him. "This isn't about saying sorry or making promises. This is acceptance. You're not asking anyone to help you." "That's because I already did the hardest part," Deacon said. "I stopped being scared." Taylor swallowed hard. Fear had made her make so many choices, like running away from pain, holding on to control, and choosing safety over truth. She felt bad about the fact that she had been doing exactly what Deacon had just gotten away from. "And what happens now?" she asked. Deacon didn't say anything right away. He didn't do that. Instead, he stood up and walked to the window to look out over the city. "Now I have to deal with the results of my choices instead of letting other people use them against me." He looked back at her. "And I choose who gets close." The words weren't meant to be flirty. They were statements. That was what gave them power. Taylor slowly got up and walked closer to them. "You know that being close to you means getting into a complicated storm," Deacon said. "I know. But I also know that storms pass. Sheila taught me that fear lasts longer when you give it what it wants." The name made Taylor's face tense. Sheila Carter wasn't just a bad person in Deacon's life. She was a walking trauma trigger for half of the people in Los Angeles. Taylor knew everything she needed to know when Deacon said her name without flinching. Taylor said softly, "You're not downplaying what she did. You just won't let it define you." "That's right." Taylor smiled for the first time. It wasn't the polite smile of a therapist. It was something real and open. She got closer, close enough for Deacon to feel her warmth. He didn't touch her. That restraint was important. Taylor said, "I've spent my whole life helping people deal with their fears. At some point I stopped facing my own." Deacon's voice got softer. You don't have to do it by yourself. Taylor looked him in the eye. Neither do you. The moment hung in the air, fragile and full of energy. Then of course the past got in the way. A phone rang on the nightstand. Taylor looked at it and already knew. Ridge. Deacon nodded. Of course. She didn't pick it up. Not yet. That's what fear does, Deacon said. It always wants you to go back to what you know. Taylor let the phone ring until it stopped. When she turned back to Deacon, she was determined. I'm choosing clarity tonight, she said. Deacon let out a breath he didn't know he was holding. Then stay. She did. They sat together again, this time with their shoulders touching. Take your time. No trick. Two people just letting themselves be there. Forrester Creations in other places. With her arms crossed, Brooke Logan stood by the window of the executive office and looked out at the city with a sense of dread that was familiar to her. All day she couldn't shake the feeling. There was a change. Ridge said, "You've been quiet," and watched her closely. Brooke turned around. Because when things are quiet here, it means someone is about to make a choice that will blow everything up. Ridge frowned. Is this about Taylor? When is it not? Brooke shot back, but then she calmed down. I heard she was with Deacon earlier. Ridge got tense. That's not normal. Brooke was done. Not at all. But our life isn't either. Ridge didn't say anything, which told Brooke more than words could ever say. Back at Deacon's place. The night got darker. The city outside got darker. But the air inside the room felt brighter, like it was full of honesty. Taylor was now standing by the door, putting on her coat. I should go, she said, but there was no rush in her voice. Deacon nodded. I won't stop you. She stopped with her hand on the doorknob. That's another thing that makes you different. He raised an eyebrow. Yes, Taylor said. You're not trying to hold on. You're letting things be picked. She looked back at him. That makes me scared. Deacon smiled softly. That's good. It means it's real. Taylor walked up to him, raised her hand, and put it on his heart for a moment. A simple act. Very strong. I don't fear you, she said. And I believe that's the best place to start. She went. Deacon was alone again. But this time the silence didn't feel so heavy. Felt like it was deserved. In the distance, things were already starting to happen. Ridge would respond. Brooke would have a hunch. Sheila would never really go away no matter where she was. But Deacon Sharp wasn't scared anymore. And that scared everyone else. Deacon didn't get any sleep. Not because the night had been busy, but because it had been too quiet. Too clear. For the first time in a long time, Sheila's thoughts weren't circling around him like a warning siren. There was no fear or worry about what might happen. Instead, he kept thinking about Taylor's hand on his heart, light, steady and grounding. She didn't say she would do anything. He hadn't either. That was the point. The pale, unassuming light of morning crept into the room, shining on a life that suddenly felt unguarded. Deacon sat on the edge of the bed with his elbows on his knees, realizing something very important. He didn't need to be saved. He didn't need to be forgiven. He just needed to stop being scared. Taylor, dawn driving. As the city passed by in soft gold and gray blurs, Taylor held the steering wheel tighter than he needed to. She hadn't turned on the radio yet. Being quiet felt more honest. She was a psychiatrist, which meant she was trained to look at people's motives, emotional patterns, and unresolved trauma. But nothing she learned in school had prepared her for the calm certainty she felt as she left Deacon's apartment. No shame. Don't panic. No need to rush to explain herself. That was the thing that scared her the most. Her phone rang again. Ridge. She didn't respond. Not yet. She knew exactly what would happen if she did. The talk would turn to history, expectations, and who she was supposed to be instead of who she really was at the time. Just breathe, Taylor said to herself, and this time she did. Forrester Creations. In the middle of the morning. Before anyone said anything, Brooke Logan knew. She could tell by the way Steffi avoided looking at her in the hallway. Every time Taylor's name came up, even in passing, Ridge's jaw tightened. Brooke had been in this triangle long enough to see the signs. There was a change. What's going on? Brooke asked Ridge as soon as they were alone. Ridge didn't answer right away. That was the first mistake. Brooke said, I start to picture things when you stop talking. And my imagination has been around for years. Ridge let out a sigh. Taylor has been far away. With you, Brooke said. Not with everyone. Ridge gave her a sharp look. Do you think this is about Deacon? Brooke thought for a moment. That pause said it all. Brooke said carefully, I think Deacon Sharp doesn't chase anymore. People don't give him enough credit because of that. Ridge laughed. Deacon's a problem. So are we, Brooke said back. The silence between them was thick, uncomfortable and familiar. Deacon later that day. Deacon stood behind the bar at Il Giardino, polishing a glass that was already clean. Charlie looked at him for a moment before he finally said something. Charlie said, You look lighter. That's not how people usually look after getting involved with Sheila Carter. Deacon smiled a little. I cut the knot. Charlie blinked. That's all. That's it. Hope stood in the doorway and looked around the room until she saw her father. She walked over slowly, looking at him like only a daughter could. Hope said, Something's not right. Deacon raised an eyebrow. Are you worried or curious? Both, she said. Are you okay? He nodded. Better than okay. Hope was a little less tense but not completely. I heard that Taylor was with you last night. Deacon didn't move. That alone scared her. Yes, he said simply. And nothing happened that shouldn't have. Hope looked at his face. You care about her. Yes. A second break. And she does care about you, Hope said. Deacon didn't say anything. He also didn't say no. Hope let out a breath. Just, don't let this become another mess. Deacon reached across the bar and grabbed her hand. I won't. I swear to you that. This time Hope trusted him. Taylor and Ridge. The fight. They met at the cliff house where the ocean was restless below, just like the tension inside. Ridge said, You didn't answer my calls, his voice full of anger. I needed space, Taylor said calmly. Ridge made a face. Since when? I realized I've been reacting too much instead of making a choice. It was there again. That word. Making a choice. Ridge put his arms across his chest. Is this about Deacon? Without thinking, Taylor looked him in the eye. Yes. He was surprised by how direct it was. You're going too far, Ridge said. Taylor shook her head. No. I'm leaving one. Ridge laughed bitterly. Taylor, Deacon Sharp isn't stability. Neither is telling the same story over and over, she said softly. I'm not doing this to hurt you. But you are, Ridge said. She nodded. I know. That honesty hurt more than anything else could have. Taylor said softly, I'm not scared anymore. Not being alone. Not letting people down. Not of him. Ridge turned away and clenched his jaw. He knew deep down. Everything changed when Taylor stopped being scared. Final beat, Deacon night. As the lights in the city below began to flicker on, Deacon stepped out onto his balcony. His phone rang. A note. Taylor. I meant what I said. I'm going with clarity. And I want to see you again. Deacon smiled, but not in a way that made him feel good about himself. Just peacefully. Fear wasn't in charge of the script for the first time. That was the most dangerous plot twist of all in a world based on chaos. She noticed it in the quiet conversations and how assistants stopped talking when she walked by. In this place, gossip spread faster than fabric. Brooke Logan had lived long enough to know when her name was going around without anyone saying it. She saw Taylor in the design office, where he was standing by himself and looking at a rack of gowns that weren't finished yet. Why have you been avoiding me? Brooke asked in a light tone. Taylor slowly turned. Be calm. Grounded. Not sorry. I'm not ignoring you, Taylor said. I'm done looking for answers. Brooke's smile faded. Okay. That's something new. Yes, Taylor said. It is. Two women stood facing each other, tied together by decades of love, jealousy, forgiveness, and heartbreak. Brooke said carefully, I heard you spent the night with Deacon. Taylor didn't get angry. Didn't change. Yes. Brooke took a deep breath. Taylor, he's my ex-husband. Father of hope. A man who has done. Of errors. Taylor gently cut in. Us too. That hit hard. Brooke said. This feels risky. Taylor said. No. It feels like it was planned. Brooke crossed her arms, not to challenge Taylor but to protect herself. And Ridge. Taylor kept looking at her. Ridge doesn't get to choose what I do with my life anymore. At that point, Brooke knew that something had happened that couldn't be changed. Taylor wasn't doing anything. She was making a choice. Ridge alone. Ridge Forrester looked at a sketch that wasn't done yet. The lines were getting blurry as his anger grew. He had always thought he knew Taylor, her loyalty, her strength, and how predictable she was. This is her. He didn't know. Steffi came into the office without knocking. Dad. He raised his head. You know. She nodded. Everybody does. Ridge ran his fingers through his hair. She's making a mistake. Steffi thought for a moment. Or she's finally making a choice without being scared. Ridge gave his daughter a sharp look. Steffi went on. I saw her this morning. She wasn't on the defensive. She wasn't feeling anything. She was determined. Ridge snapped. That doesn't mean Deacon is right for her. Steffi said. No. But it makes her right for herself. Ridge didn't want that answer. Deacon and Taylor, second meeting. This time they met in a neutral place. A quiet cafe that wasn't too close to any of their usual spots. No expectations. No secrets. Just space. Taylor said, I'm not hiding this, as she sat down. I won't be sneaking around. Deacon nodded. Good. Shadows are over for me. She looked at him. This isn't about going against Ridge. Or showing Brooke anything. Deacon said. I know. If it were, I wouldn't care. Taylor smiled a little. You don't care about the backlash. Deacon said. I'm scared of going back. That's worse. They talked for hours but not about love. They talked about responsibility, kids, the people they had hurt, and the ones they were still trying to protect. At one point, Taylor reached out and touched his hand across the table. She said, It has to be honest no matter what this turns into. Deacon said, It will be. Even if it costs me. She didn't move away. Mother and daughter Hope and Brooke. Hope walked back and forth in the living room with her arms crossed. I don't like this. Brooke let out a sigh. Me neither. Hope went on. Dad is finally stable. Taylor coming into his life changes the balance. Brooke said firmly, Taylor isn't Sheila. Hope said, I know. That's what makes this scarier. She matters. Brooke nodded slowly. So does your dad. Hope turned to her mother. Do you think this will end badly? Brooke didn't answer right away. Brooke finally said, This family has never known how to deal with people who choose happiness over tradition. That's the real risk. Steffi. A private moment with Taylor. They stood by the ocean, and the wind messed up Steffi's hair. Steffi said, I won't lie. This is hard. Taylor smiled softly. When has life ever been easy for us? Steffi looked at her mother. Are you okay? Taylor didn't think twice. I'm at peace. Steffi nodded slowly. Then I won't get in your way.